If I could invite everyone to please take their seats. Hello? Hello? If I could invite everyone to please take their seats. We're going to test the microphone now that we're quiet, and it works. This is as good a time as any to ask you to please silence your phones, so that seems like a good plan. Please silence your phones. Good evening, everyone. My name is Maya Diamond, and I am the professor of Making an Exoneree here at Princeton. Okay, but now you're gonna have to clap again, okay? I am thrilled to welcome you to this year's documentary showcase. That's the part where you're supposed to clap. Making an Exoneree is a program that originated at Georgetown University 7 years ago by childhood friends Mark Howard and Marty Tankleff. Yeah, we can clap for them. Great. Marty himself was wrongfully convicted, and together they decided to turn their tragedy into something extraordinary. The vision for this program was bringing intrepid undergraduate students with their indefatigable zeal to the deeply challenging and at times onerous work of reinvestigating wrongful convictions. Now in its 7th year, the students of Making an Exoneree have worked on many cases, most recently adding the partnership with us here at Princeton and Georgetown law students to the investigative teams. 7 people, including 2 from Princeton's class last year, are now home or soon to be en route home because of the work of this program. I'm getting word I'm allowed to say 8. I wasn't allowed to say 8 until now, but 8. Okay. We do have some exonerees here in the audience tonight, and I want to invite them to stand to acknowledge what they've been through and how grateful we are to have benefited from their collective wisdom. Marty Tankleff. Some people are coming, not here yet, but we still want to clap for them, please. Kenneth Bond. Orlando Trey Jones III. Muti Ajamu Ose Burrow, coming. And Adnan Sayed. Thank you so much for teaching us and for the privilege of letting us learn from you. It bears repeating, these are undergraduate students. They come into the class with completely diverse academic backgrounds and little to no familiarity with court proceedings, laws, or how the criminal legal system works. These students read thousands of pages of court transcripts, police investigations, and expert testimony. They travel to visit our program participants in prisons, meet with their families, and interview experts. Coming from across the university, studying journalism, politics, English, public and international affairs, and anything and everything in between, except film, they dive headfirst into becoming documentarians. They spend innumerable hours editing multiple hard drives full of footage, responding to feedback at all hours of the day and night, all in service of one single solitary goal: freedom. Freedom from the physical and emotional cage of our carceral system. And I say ours because it is ours. As much as we may feel ambivalent about it or try to distance ourselves from it, it is our government, funded by our tax dollars and run by our neighbors and controlled by our elected and appointed officials. And thus, it is our responsibility to really look at it and push, advocate, and fight like hell to ensure that it is, in fact, just. And that's what these students have done this semester and are doing tonight. Because when these people are locked up unjustly, all of our collective liberty is at stake. Please bear with me as this next part is going to sound like we're at an award ceremony. There are so many people to thank for helping the students learn and produce these documentaries. Making an Exoneree relies heavily on an extensive network of experts, hopefully soon to be listed on the slide behind me. There we go. We are so grateful for their time, expertise, and efforts on behalf of our students and program participants. We also must thank the Georgetown team, many of whom have traveled from DC to be here with us tonight. Mark, Marty, Georgetown Kate, Sully, Trey, Adnan, Amanda, Joy, and Annie. We are so grateful for your guidance and support as you continue to pave the way for innovation and real justice. On the Princeton side, thank you to my fantastic faculty assistant, Erin Casey, and to Michael for all of the tech support this evening. I'm thanking you in advance, so I really hope that the tech actually goes well. Thank you to Dean Lipton at SPIA for seeing the possibility of this program, and to Professor Jim Vreeland for blazing the trail last year. Thank you also to the wonderful folks at PLaw, especially Professor Perlstein, for believing that I could teach this class 4 weeks after having a baby. Not unrelated, on a personal note, I need to thank my wonderful family for providing the support to enable me to teach this class and also for all of the snacks. I would also like to thank the families and longtime advocates of our program participants. You have been advocating for these people for so long. We are so grateful that you shared their stories with us. Thank you for welcoming our students into your homes and into your lives. We know these are extremely fraught conversations, and we are grateful for your vulnerability and your time. And your trust, I want to say that too. To my students, thank you for signing up for this incredible journey and for trusting me to be your guide. I am so grateful for your curiosity, perseverance, dedication, and commitment to justice. I sincerely hope you will keep in touch with me, but now only during working hours. I also need to thank my TAs, Kate and Clara, who were my Princeton guides and lifelines this semester. No task too big or too small, and the best thought partners a professor could ask for. Most importantly, thank you to Damian Phillips, Tony Mills, Peter Kenny Jr., and Tyrone Green for the sacred honor of telling your stories. Finally, we know that talking about wrongful convictions can also be traumatic for the victims and families of the victims of these crimes. We are thinking of you tonight. And now, I'd like to invite up our Georgetown partners, Mark and Marty, to share a few words.
Thank you, Myas. Thank you so much for that introduction, for that welcome. And actually, I didn't know we were going to have these pictures. Believe it or not, the picture on top there, right up there, is about an hour after Marty was freed, after 6,338 days and nights in prison for a crime he didn't commit. And that moment, that welcome, that greeting, that bond that was recreated in freedom is literally what guides the mission of this program, what we're trying to recreate with our students. So it's actually, for me, very moving. I didn't know it was going to be there, but to see that brings me back to where it started and to what we're trying to create. Now, we have such a huge problem in this country with 2 million people in prison, about 5% of them wrongfully convicted. That's about 100,000 people in prison for crimes they didn't commit. It's an epidemic. It's outrageous. It shouldn't stand. And we came up with this idea of working with undergraduate students. And some people thought we were crazy. What can they do? They're just kids. Some of them aren't even of legal drinking age. And we found that they are not only extremely competent, but they are stealth weapons. And they are pursuing justice. And now we found a model, and thank you to Maya, and thank you to the leadership at Princeton, Dean Paul Lipton. I want to acknowledge you again for just believing in this vision, because so many universities are silos. They're separated, their own institutions, and they do their own thing, and they don't really interact with each other. Yet we've created a program and a model here through the leadership of Jim Vreeland last year and Maya this year to reproduce and to work together, because justice does not live in silos. Justice needs to be pursued beyond boundaries. And that's what we're trying to do in this program. So we're incredibly grateful to Princeton, to the administration, to the faculty, and especially to the students for the incredible work that you've been doing in this program and for seeing this mission, for believing in it, and for carrying it out. You have, last year, incredible precedents with 2 of the 4 cases, one free, one on his way to freedom. That's a high bar, but we look forward to celebrating many more releases. We've had 6 through Georgetown already, and 1 more, knock on wood, coming within a matter of weeks. And that's what we strive for, is the pursuit of justice and the truth, because there's just so much that we're up against, and no one knows it better than Marty.
I also want to say is that I think Mark needs to go to France more often, because Mark was just in France a few hours before this picture was taken, and I think he's been in France 2 other times that people have walked out of prison. So maybe he should spend some more time there. Okay. But I want to say one thing is that this program is resonating nationwide. Monday, I was just filmed at the Dr. Phil show, and it was because of, one of the reasons why is because of this program. And what's interesting is the staff there said they wish they can go back to college and take this class because the impact it's making. So I just want to say is keep doing this work. It's tremendously hard. Anybody who does this work thinks it's easy. They have no idea what it's like. I mean, Jim, you were here last year. You know what it takes. We work countless hours. And for anybody who wants to seek justice, just realize you're going to put your heart and soul into it. It's going to get crushed more often than it gets risen up. But guess what? When you do the work long enough, it's worth it. If you get to help one person walk out of prison, it'll make your life really different. I mean, Adam Deutsch up there has been involved in several exonerations, and I can tell you it's one of the proudest moments he's had. Mark's been able to walk several people out. Mark and I were there the first day Valentino Dixon saw the light of day. And for me, seeing those moments will be the best thing ever. So just keep fighting, and you guys will have that day soon.
And with the most perfectly timed entrance I ever could have imagined, I'm delighted to bring up Clara, the aforementioned fabulous TA who was a student in this class last year, and Muti.
Hi, everyone. First, I want to give some thank yous to Mark and Marty, whose belief, vision, and friendship has made this class a possibility. I also want to give a special took over this class, but is turning it into a cornerstone. I met Muti when he was a program participant in Princeton's first ever Making an Exoneree class. At the time, Muti had served 42 years of a life sentence for a crime he did not commit. Alongside my two classmates, we spent the semester reinvestigating Muti's case, dedicating the majority of time to gathering letters of support from lawyers, professors, and experts, and prepping Muti for his parole interview. In April, we received what is, and I'm sure always will be, the best phone call of my life. After being denied multiple parole opportunities, this one was successful. Muti was going to be free. On June 23rd, just in time for Muti's 60th birthday, he walked out of the gates of Frackville State Penitentiary, a free man for the first time since age 17. There are very few words that accurately describe greeting someone as they walk out of prison. Having gotten to know Muti through countless hours on the phone, emails sent, jokes told, book recommendation shares, and admittedly just a few arguments about the created vision of the documentary, our first time meeting felt almost like running into an old friend. I mean this not to diminish Muti's release, but instead to emphasize the fact that Muti's indomitable spirit, radical activism, and immense knowledge are attributes that I have an impossible time imagining were kept from this world for 42 years. Despite the success of our case, the work is ongoing. Muti's case embodies the horrific effects of wrongful conviction and the carceral system more broadly. In particular, its disproportionate effects on Black men, as well as the family members and friends of those incarcerated. Princeton must continue to use its immense resources to affect the lives of those beyond its ivory towers. And I'm hopeful that Muti is the first of many releases that Princeton plays a role. I've never been more proud to be a Princeton student than when standing at the gates of Frackville State Correctional Institute, watching Muti reconnect with his amazing sister, family, and friends after 42 years. I know there have been many thank yous tonight. I want to thank you, Muti, for your friendship, your guidance, and your continued belief in what young people and the right institutions. Just a few.
It's 0709.
She's great.
Actually, she could have did that without the paper. I know her. But she wanted to be all formal and whatnot, which is cool. But before I even say anything, I want to say this one thing. It just hit me while she was speaking. This is something I could have never seen, never imagined. 42 years of torture, 42 years of suffering, 42 years of hell on top of hell. First day that I was out, I didn't plan. I had a vision of how I wanted the first day to go, and it didn't go anything like I planned. But the first day was so perfect that the second day was actually the first day of my rebirth, because the first day erased 42 years of suffering. I could have never imagined that in my, if somebody would have told me that about their circumstances, knowing how hard I grind, because I vindicated the rights of thousands of prisoners while I was in prison. I had to master the law. But if somebody would have told me that, I would have called them a liar, and I would have said all kinds of ugly things about them. So it happened to me, so I know it really happened. So I know it's real. But that's just incredible how things just came together. But like I was telling them when they came aboard, first Georgetown, then Princeton, I was telling them that your name, I said, y'all can be slouches, y'all can be hacks. I said, none of that really matters, because the way that the system, the way that the court system operates, y'all have a name. So therefore, y'all somebody, and y'all defending a nobody or a bunch of nobodies. And because you are somebody or have a name that is considered somebody, it's going to draw attention, and all the things that they were supposed to do a long time ago, they're going to do now. Not because they want to or because it's the right thing to do, but because somebody with a name, i.e. Georgetown Law School, big up to Hoya Paranoia, and Princeton University, big up to the Tigers, Tiger Town on set. But because y'all have the name, that's why they're going to change their whole posture. And I told this to the team. This is sort of some inside stuff. Because after everything happened, and I went to parole hearing, and I knew that I was going to be paroled, and Clara asked me, or actually Red Top Tweezy, that's her name, where she asked me, how did it go? And I was like, yeah, they're going to parole me. And she was like, well, you don't seem to be happy. I said, no. I said, because the program, the interview that I got, it was fake. Like, they were actually apologizing to me for putting me in prison. Not because of nothing profound I said, because I had Princeton and Georgetown on my team. That's the only reason. And I was mad because I know nobody coming behind me, unless they had Georgetown and Princeton on their team, was going to get the treatment that I just got. This dude, he was the chairman of the parole board. He spent the whole time apologizing to me because of Georgetown and Princeton. And I knew it was no other reason than Georgetown and Princeton. That's it. Because who they are, what they represent, they are somebody in the scheme of the American jurisprudence. And because they are somebody, now what they were supposed to do for this nobody, they actually did it. So I'm saying that, because she's giving me the pull side, I'm just saying, to be real brief, if you're thinking about getting involved in the program, do so. Bring your energy. Need fresh blood. We need fire, spirit. And you're thinking about helping the program, dig down deep and pull everything you got out your pocket, because these two entities can help liberate hundreds, even thousands of innocent people all over the country. Because what's going on in the court system is a literal nightmare. So with these two entities, and they trying to spread it throughout America to other institutions, we can really do some damage in terms of reversing the process of what exists. So basically, that's it.
Okay, we gotta get the documentary. It's on the road.
Thank you so much to Clara and Muti for sharing their story. And now, these documentaries are told in the voices of wrongly convicted people and their advocates, their lawyers, their families, and their friends. Please be advised that this means there may be elements that are distressing to some viewers, including allusions to violence and the use of racial slurs. And now, I am so excited to welcome up Team Sarah.
Good evening. My name is Genevieve.
My name is Mia.
And this semester, we've had the privilege of working on the case of an incredible individual, Damian Phillips.
My name is Megan, and I'm the Georgetown Law student on Team Phillips. I've had the honor of supporting Damian's attorney, Terry Heimbaugh, all throughout this semester. It's been such an honor and a privilege in order to learn from her, as she is such a fierce advocate, and it's been wonderful to try to free someone as great as Damian.
In a few moments, you'll witness a fraction of the injustices that led to Damian's incarceration. Last month, he celebrated his 50th birthday in prison. incarcerated for over 29 years for a crime that he did not commit.
Despite the grave injustice he has faced, Damien's resilience is unwavering. He dedicates his free time to the prison law library. He saved up from his prison job to enroll in a 2-year paralegal course and is constantly teaching us and other inmates about the law. Damien's advocacy extends beyond his own case, and he tirelessly fights for the rights of others who have been wrongfully incarcerated.
We have been continuously inspired by Damien and his altruism, selflessness, and brilliance. Each time we visited, Damien would call to check that we got home safely. When I was working on my junior year paper last week, Damien remembered to call and check in on me, always putting himself before others. We know that Damien did not commit these crimes, and after watching this documentary, you will too.
Damien's family, we're deeply thankful for your trust. Your support has been invaluable in our journey to advocate for Damien's release. To everyone else we interviewed, your contributions to Damien's case and this documentary are all greatly appreciated, as well as your continued fight for Damien for years prior to us.
And to Damien, thank you for allowing us to share your story. This semester may be over, but our commitment to advocating for your release remains forever.
We now introduce Signing Your Life Away, the story of Damien Phillips.
My name is Damien Phillips. I've been incarcerated for 29 years, wrongfully convicted for a crime that I did not commit. My Uncle Jimmy had passed away, and most of our family were there in the projects. When we were leaving, me, my cousin, and one of my friends, we were stopped by the police who was out canvassing the area for this crime. They told us about the crime and what happened. And then they searched us and let us go because they said that we were too tall. The description that they initially gave was 2 people around 5'5". I was 6'2" back then. 6'3", going 6'4" now. There was no way I was going to be confused as somebody that was 5'5". I couldn't have been either one of them guys. So that's why they let us go, because we never fit the description. Antonio Hudson was the one that was arrested for this crime. And once he was arrested and he implicated me, the police took me and they said they were looking for me and wanted to question me about a number of robberies. They left me in the room for, I don't know how long, because I know that it was in the morning sometime when I was locked up. When they took me in, it was like around 10 o'clock or something like that. When I left out of there, it was dark, dead of night.
You scared? Young, 20 years old.
He had been beaten on, he had been denied food, he had been denied bathroom, and he was exhausted and emotionally in a position where he felt like he couldn't win, and they were never going to let him go. This is psychological torture. This is nothing less than torture. And if this were Guantanamo, it would be considered torture.
And here, just sign your name. This is what we were talking about. So I start signing my name on the pages. He signed my name on he just was pointing at where I signed at. I gave it back to him, and then they left out. And that was the first time that I actually saw the statement in my hand and was able to go through it. And I'm like, wow. I couldn't believe it.
So there are lots of reasons why people might succumb to a coerced confession or testify falsely. But conversely, a lot of us believe that confession evidence is sacrosanct. You know, if you're a juror and you hear about a confession, you tend to believe it because you think that you would never confess falsely to something. Well, you're not in the interrogation room. You're not under those pressures.
The primary witness that we were concerned with was Audrey Taylor. fit the profile of someone that they would try and utilize because she is an individual who they thought they could manipulate.
I met Damien through my ex-boyfriend, which is my son's father. If I didn't testify, I would be in accessory. I would go to jail for the rest of my life.
Psychologists call this maximization minimization. It's a technique that a lot of police are trained in, where they'll come in and they'll say, if you don't do what I want, we're going to throw the book at you. You're going to get the maximum penalty. But if you do what we want, if you say what we want, you will get the minimal penalty. You will get favorable treatment.
He coached me as far as what to say on the stand. It was horrible. It was horrible. So I had to say what the prosecutor coached me to say from the statements they were taking. I told them that a lot of the information they were telling me to say is not true, or I didn't say it.
Damien's case is a really prime example of police misconduct and how police misconduct can negatively and irreparably impact on the determination of someone's guilt or innocence.
Detective Thomas Augustine is a well-known Philadelphia homicide detective, known for being corrupt. There's been at least 4 murder convictions that was overturned because of him, because it involved him tampering with evidence in some type of way.
They would have found a lot of evidence that would have supported the fact that Augustine was a dirty detective, but no one was looking. So if you can break through the perception that detectives and police officers always tell the truth, we're going to get closer to being able to find the truth.
In these cases, we are seeing often what I refer to as malicious intent. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing is wrong. Their partners are aware of what they're doing. Their agency is aware of what they're doing, yet they're still being supported.
These people that's holding him and won't let him have his life.
During the course of my incarceration, I filed 8 post-convictions on my own through trial and errors, learning and studying the law. And that really helped me, made me better to be able to navigate myself, and I help others as well, help other guys that was close to me to help them navigate the system and help them put their petitions together.
He said, I'm still learning also. He said, but whatever you need, I'm more than willing to help you. And I was like, you got a job here or anything? He was like, no. He said, I got time to help you. He said, I'm more than willing. So I was like, well, what do you want? Because people don't do stuff for free in jail. No, they want money. Everybody trying to make some money. They trying to make something happen. They trying to, so he was like, I don't want nothing.
When I came to prison, I was 19 years old. I had no criminal history, no prior criminal record. Fast forward, here I am, just turned 50. And looking forward to the grace of God letting me out of here.
You're one day, my son gonna walk through that door. A free man.
Our names are JJ, Ala,
and Millie, and we have been working on the case of Anthony Tony Mills. We are fortunate enough to meet Tony in person before we ever heard his voice on the phone. Since then, we've learned that Tony is one of the most introspective people we've known. He loves to run. He loves to run because through running, Tony reassures himself that his mind is in control of his body. This self-reflection enables Tony to be one of the most incredible listeners and supporters to his friends and family. He always checks in to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. And he even shared with us his signature trail mix recipe, which we can attest is delicious.
In 2007, Tony was sentenced to 45 years in prison for an assault, burglary, and robbery that had happened 5 years prior. He's been repeatedly victimized by an unjust legal system and botched investigation on the part of the police. Tony has 17 more years left to serve in a maximum security prison for a crime he did not and could not have committed. Over the past few months, we've been investigating this crime and Tony's conviction in order to prove his innocence.
Before we present our documentary, we'd like to thank a few people that made all of this possible. First and foremost, we want to thank our incredible Professor Maya and our amazing TAs, Clara and Kate, for their ongoing support throughout the course. We want to thank our team's law student who could not make it today, Miranda, who has been the most inspiring, motivating, and supporting presence. We couldn't have done any of this without you.
We are also so grateful to Joy Evans, who has supported us and Tony purely out of the goodness of her heart. We'd also like to thank Kenneth Bond for recommending Tony to Making an Exoneree, and Tony's family for allowing us to advocate for your dad and your brother. Finally, and most importantly, we want to thank Tony for trusting us 3 undergrads with his case. Thank you for welcoming us into your life. We will cherish the bond we've built with you forever. Without further ado, we present Mistaken Fate, the story of Anthony Mills.
You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. This call is from an inmate at the Maryland Correctional Facility.
My name is Anthony Mills. I've been in prison for 17 years for a crime I did not commit.
Last time I seen somebody was my mother and my sister Carlotta. That was in 2017. My kids, I'm embarrassed. I'm their father. And I don't want my children to be in a place like this, even next to visit it.
March 18, 2002. So I went up to New Jersey to pick up a friend of mine to bring her back from New Jersey to our residence in Maryland.
Tony was driving down from New Jersey with his friend, Teresa. Teresa signed an affidavit stating that they arrived sometime, she believes, between 2 and 3 that day.
The most rapid losses are in the minutes immediately following seeing that face, so that you lose 15% of whatever was in there in the first place, which again isn't perfect, but you lose 15% of that within the first 10 minutes. And then you continue with losses. If a witness is trying to identify a stranger, even a week after seeing that person's face, Jurors and judges should be cautioned. Take that identification with a grain of salt. Be concerned. They're at chance levels after a matter of weeks and months. Memory does not return at some point.
When I spoke to the eyewitness, the language barrier stopped anyone from being able to truly investigate. The only thing that we see are those police reports that are done in Spanish, and there are no records that show that she talked to anybody that could fluently speak Spanish.
Once the witness makes a decision, whatever it is, either identifying the suspect, identifying a filler, saying they don't know, definitively saying the person isn't there, whatever it is, ask the witness's confidence in their answer and do it in an unbiased way.
We know from court records that the detective didn't speak Spanish on the stand.
There is no way proper protocols around identification could have been followed.
Well, I was hired to determine if the handwriting on the pictures that supposedly was identified by the victim was her handwriting. And I determined it was not her handwriting. It was my opinion and Wendy Carlson's opinion that Detective Rubin signed the lady's initials on the picture, which they used to indict and prosecute and put poor Anthony in jail for all these years.
Detective Rubin came to the witness room that I was supposed to be privately secluded in and started asking me who I was, started threatening me with investigation by the FBI, started taking pictures of me on his phone. It felt very threatening, felt very intimidating, and I'm sure it was because I had identified him as the author of the witness signature and the handwriting on the document in question.
Witness intimidation, that is very serious. And if we're seeing multiple complaints like that from independent parties in the same investigation or across multiple investigations, that is incredibly concerning. Usually what we see with problematic supervisors, in my experience, is that if there is one complaint, there's likely many others that were never brought forward.
Detective Rubin is an out-and-out fraud, a crook, a liar. He should be put in prison, not Anthony.
The lead detective in this case, Detective Rubin, identified an alternative suspect within 4 days of the crime. The suspect had similar MO, was wanted for 2 crimes in the Silver Spring area, and fit the physical description that the victim gave to police.
Generally, when we start to see a pattern of conduct that is not consistent with what you would expect to see from a law enforcement investigator, that conduct undermines the reliability of everything they do in the investigation. What they are doing is trying to confirm their belief about who committed the crime and why.
After a period of time and my sitting here, filing motions and stuff like that, I gave up on the judicial system.
He was robbed of a whole life. His kids, his grandkids, his mother died. I think he'll be a good grandpa when he gets out. He has a kind heart.
Why did this happen? It took me a while to come up with my reasons, and to do what I said I was going to do when I get out of here. Because I think I'll have me about 15, maybe 20 more years with my family, and I want to do what I could do to have a bigger funeral.
all I ever wanted was a father. We ain't have a daddy, so I think we deserve that much.
Hi, I'm Emmanuel.
I'm Kat.
And I'm Janny.
Over the course of this semester, we have had the honor and pleasure of getting to know Peter Kenny and his freedom fighting team. Peter has a big, open heart. We hear it in his voice in every conversation, on every call when we go from the inhumanity of the Department of Rehabilitation's and Corrections warnings to his warmth. It feels like we are a small part of a miracle.
From listening to Peter tell stories about his youth and talk about his journey, we have cherished every minute that we have been able to share with Peter. We are moved by the resilience and determination that Peter and his team exhibit in fighting for his exoneration. We are so grateful to be a part of Team Kenny, or as Gina calls it, the Sheroes. Our documentary would not have been possible without the support of so many people. We would like to thank Peter's lawyers, Kim Corral and Katerina McGregor, for their tireless work fighting for not only Peter's freedom, but that of so many people in Ohio. They are true leaders in addressing the epidemic of wrongful convictions throughout the state.
We also want to thank Peter's entire family for opening their homes and their hearts to us. Thank you for sharing your stories, memories, files, and photos. Thank you to Gina, Peter's wife, who is a leading activist in her own right. Without you, none of this would have been possible. Thank you for taking late night calls, driving all around Cleveland with us, and texting us back and forth constantly at all hours of the day. Your thorough knowledge of this case, the way you can tell us whose house is whose in a second and know all the addresses and dates off the top of your head, was a saving grace on so many occasions. I also want to say thank you to the entire Kenny family and the entire Beach family. We hope that we're a part of your family forever because you're a part of ours.
You and Peter, your story, your love, and your strength inspires us each and every day. We feel lucky to be in your lives, and as Kat said, we're not going anywhere. We cannot wait to free Peter and to watch you fulfill and excel at your plan of working together to free so many more people in Ohio and beyond. We love you both. With that, we debut I Can't Be Broken, the story of Peter Anthony Kenny Jr.
How can you approach a case like this knowing all the information that you know, concealing the most important information that actually somebody else did the crime, and go after this 17-year-old?
Five days before my 16th birthday, Nathan was born.
I was 1 when he was incarcerated. Been in jail for 23 years, and I am now 24.
And once they gave me a life sentence, I was pretty broken. When I got locked up, I didn't see him until he was 10. At 17 years old, I would not have imagined they could put me away for life with that type of evidence.
I mean, he's literally been incarcerated longer than he's actually lived out in the free world. I mean, he's 17 years old when he went to prison, and he spent 23 years. I mean, you took all of his 20s, all of his 30s. He just turned 40 this year. Like, we will not allow this state to hold him another year illegally detained for a crime he did not commit.
It felt like it happened out of nowhere, and I did nothing wrong.
Terrence Robinson was shot and killed on April 17, 2001 at approximately 5 a.m.
The suspects were seen running east, and it was in fact, my husband was actually west a few streets over.
An individual on wet would not have motor coordination or motor function or even awareness of their motor coordination.
She was coaxed and threatened and advised by the police in terms of what she was supposed to say.
The prosecutor. So when he had Lynette up on the stand, he wouldn't let her finish a sentence.
You can actually read back in the transcripts, and she's looking to the detective to make sure that she's doing what he wants her to do.
I remember vividly asking for additional documentation of when he confessed to her, and we weren't allowed to have the information. I ran into Lynette probably 10 years later, made a comment to her, and she had said to me, yeah, I was coerced. Like, they were threatening to take away her kids, and I'm like, oh, fuck.
In prosecuting Peter Kenny, they ignored everything else that wasn't helpful in the prosecution of Peter Kenny.
2 weeks before trial, the defense attorney discovered that a person by the name of David Finley overheard take credit for the murder.
That there were 2 young boys in the basement who had claimed that they heard the victim yell, "Stop, stop."
The alibi was that he was at a Cleveland Cavaliers game. That was the alibi for a murder that was perpetrated at 5 a.m.
We all know Cavs games don't last till 4 in the morning. The police were so willing to accept that, but he killed again.
Benjamin Mercado was killed on the night of October 31st, 2001, nearly 6.5 months after Terrence Robinson was shot and killed. Both of the victims shot and killed in the same type of fashion and form. 6 to 7 shots, 1 to the head, 1 to each arm, 2 to each leg. Left face down in the driveways or in the backyard.
I mean, it's eerie that they had this information that was almost identical, yet they considered, not pursuing as they pursued only Peter.
Had they meaningfully considered the evidence in front of them, that second murder should have never happened. He should have been in custody.
You've seen the statistics on my windows. 54% of wrongful convictions are a result of police and prosecutorial misconduct.
Mike O'Malley, the detective, sat on the stand knowing he had an entire file implicating in the murder that he was testifying against Peter Kenny for, didn't turn it over, didn't testify truthfully. He told everybody who would listen, we think we're this other murder. We think he's responsible for this Terrence killing. He told everybody who would listen. It's all over the file, and yet It's unclear whether he told the prosecutors or not, but he knew it when he took the stand in Peter Kenny's case. It's appalling. Frankly, it's criminal. Like, he participated in a government-sanctioned kidnapping of Peter Kenny.
This case has haunted me for over 20 years as a juror.
Here in Cuyahoga County, we actually have the top county in wrongful convictions. I host wrongful conviction rallies every October 2nd, and when these people show up for the first time, they never knew that someone else was experiencing what their family was experiencing.
I got to prison, got my teeth, everything right away, right off the bus. The day I turned 18, they sent me to maximum security. Over 8 years of incarceration and military confinement.
Like when he calls and asks what we're eating for dinner, I lie to him sometimes because if you look at my hallway, I eat ramen noodles every day. Because he has to. It's just a mom thing. Because I feel guilty for eating sometimes.
I know that the worst this state can do to me is put me in a cell and leave me in there by myself. And I can do that. I can't be broken. You can do whatever you want, and I'm going to survive. And I'm going to get through this by the grace of God and my loved ones. You know, that by my side, my wife, my aunt, my mom, I'm going to make it out of here.
Peter Kenny.
Everyone. Hi. And Zoom. We're Team Tyrone Green. My name is Sam, and these are my wonderful teammates, Sophie, Mohan, and Isa. I'd like to ask you to think back. Think back to where you were when the pandemic hit, or when Obama was elected, when Apple released the iPhone, or when Friends first aired on TV. Many of us weren't alive then, but Tyrone was. He's been in prison that entire time on a murder charge. He's serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole at SCI Phoenix, just outside of Philadelphia. And the most shocking part is that every single person, even the prosecutors in Tyrone's case, agree that he didn't kill anybody.
In 1993, Tyrone gave his neighbor a ride to the laundromat. He's been incarcerated ever since. He was 23 then, and he's 54 now. Over the last several months, we've reinvestigated Tyrone's case, getting to know him and his family, and uncovering the countless issues surrounding his conviction. The crux of the matter is incredibly simple. Tyrone has spent 30 years in prison for a murder that nobody thinks he committed. What's more, because he's not eligible for parole, the state never expects to release him from prison. This is called death by incarceration. While making our documentary, we aim to tell the story of Tyrone and his family in a manner that accurately reflects their experiences in their own words. As such, our film features language that some viewers may find distressing.
We are so excited to share Tyrone's story with you, but it's important to note that his battle for justice long predates our involvement. We'd like to thank his amazing family for their unwavering support of Tyrone and our project. We would also like to thank the Princeton School of Public and International Affairs, Georgetown's Prisons and Justice Initiative, and everyone we interviewed this semester. Of course, none of this would have been possible without our brilliant professor, Maya Diamond, and our fantastic classmates. Finally, we'd like to thank Tyrone for sharing his full self with us. Together, we found moments of joy, sadness, fear, and immeasurable hope. Without further ado, we're pleased to share Unknowing Accomplice, the favor that stole Tyrone's freedom.
Is it necessary
to have him die in prison? Can't we return him to society? Don't we need him as a member of society?
Tyrone is a character. He's a sweetheart. Although he's my younger brother, he's very protective as my big brother.
As a father, he was very affectionate, very overprotective of me, very active. We did a lot of things together.
Like I said, he's very, very sweet, you know, so he's a mama's boy.
Tyrone is my baby son. This justice system that we got to abide by. They took my son.
This is a call from SCI, Phoenix State Correctional Institution.
My name is Tyrone Green. I've been incarcerated for 30 years for a crime I did not commit.
One of the co-defendants had contacted Tyrone in Philadelphia and had requested him to accompany them to Coatesville because someone owed, I believe, Mr. Hall some money.
And on my way home, I seen Derek. And he asked me if I can take him to Coatesville. We drive out there. He told me where I would park at, and where he was going in at, I seen soda machines and stuff through the window because it's a big window. Soon he goes in first, and I look in the back, and I seen Hall with the gun. And I just ran.
This was a very difficult case because the appearance was that Tyrone was part of this trio of defendants that had committed the robbery murder. At the end of the first trial, which was in 1996, the jury found my client not guilty of criminal conspiracy, and they were hung on the homicide charges, and that led to a second trial, unfortunately.
I was interrogated after my arrest, and I told the detectives exactly what happened. When he left and came back with the statement, and he wanted me to sign it, I didn't trust him because I knew that they didn't believe me, or they didn't want to believe me, or they wanted me to say something other than we went out there to pick up money for a bet. So I didn't trust him. At the time of my arrest and my interrogation, I couldn't read nor write.
felony murder in Pennsylvania is second-degree murder that carries a life without the possibility of parole sentence, which is a harsh mandatory minimum sentence. Felony murder is an outlier in the criminal law because it doesn't require that intent to commit murder or even intent to commit a killing. It only involves intent to commit the felony. There is also, according to the data, a disproportionate impact on Black and brown people.
There is no way that someone should spend 30 years or life in prison for not knowing that a crime was going to be committed.
For them to give him life, you know, that took our life. That's a part of us that when he didn't come home, we didn't come home too.
He was a number. And to be candid, he was a nigga. That's what it was.
I just can't. Because it was wrong. They took my son away from me all these years.
The 30 years I've been incarcerated, my family has stuck by my side every step of the way. It's hard for anybody to understand what it's like to be incarcerated for 30 years because you're losing family members. And then when you're incarcerated for crime that you didn't commit, you also feel for the victim in the crime and the family members that suffer in theirs.
And I get another round of applause for all the students. So I'd like to invite up the students of Making an Exoneree, please, for a question and answer session. But I want to just let the audience know this is a bit of an unusual question and answer session because we are hoping that we will be interrupted by live calls from our program participants from prison. So we ask for your grace and kindness if one of our participants calls and your question or your answer is interrupted so that we can hear from them. Do we have one?
Yeah, that's Tyrone. All right, we're very excited to welcome Tyrone Green.
Okay, dude. So wait, here's the situation. I'm in front of we got like 200 people in a room here. Yeah, it's great. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna put you on speaker. Okay, you're live, man.
Hey, I'm talking to everybody on here.
Wait, can you all hear?
Hello?
Yeah. You're in the back? Okay, cool. Tyrone, they can all, there's 200 people here, man. Oh, okay. I'm putting you as close to the microphone as I can get you.
This is a call from SCI, Phoenix State Correctional Institution. This call is subject to recording and monitoring.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Dude, you want to say hi or something, or you want to?
Oh, they can hear me now.
Yeah, they can hear you, dude. You're on. I'm
I'm
holding the phone
sorry.
up to your
I'm
microphone.
I'm so sorry, everybody. Hey, thank you, everybody, for showing up. I really humbly appreciate everybody's time that they spent in, and I hope that everybody got some constructive information today. First, I would like to thank God for taking people in my life over the past 30 years to help me get through the most difficult time of my life. My family, my mother, my sisters, my daughters, my fiance, I couldn't have did it without them. And then I must show my appreciation for the faculty at Georgetown University and Princeton for allowing my story to be told. And I'm hoping that everyone can see that our justice system is not perfect. But when mistakes is made, all we ask is for our justice system to correct the mistake that was made. That's all I ask for, and that's all we ask for. And if anyone want to continue to talk to me or communicate with me, please contact me, or you can text me through connectnetworks.com. You can ask me any questions, ain't no questions off the table, ain't no questions too hard, or anything. If there's anything you want to know, please feel free to interact with me. I would love it. And again, I thank everybody for coming out and sharing your time and to hear my story. Thank you, and may God bless you all.
Thanks, Tyrone.
And thank you, Sheik, for allowing us to have your phone. We'd like to invite people up for questions. There's 2 mics down here. We have questions on Zoom as well, potentially. The alternative to questions is listening to me speak more. So I really can't imagine that's a vibe we're looking for.
So this is not a question, it's just a comment. We just got word from Kennedy that Irie Dorsey was listening in and said, wow, and congratulations to everybody in the room. I know. Kennedy was a student from last year who worked on Irie Dorsey's case, and she's still working on his case, and Irie Dorsey should be home by the end of the year.
Hello. First of all, great job on all the videos and everything that you've accomplished this far in the semester. My question is I'm not sure how people will be able to answer it, but how has technology benefited and also harmed wrongful convictions as we're seeing AI play a bigger role in today's world?
our case was like really long time ago, so technology like didn't really play a role in the conviction or anything. But for us, it's made it much easier to interact with Damien. We can message him every day at any time of the day. He can call us, but also we've been able to interact with witnesses and things like randomly. Like we send it to Adam and he gives us someone's name and phone number, and we can call random people at any hour who may have an affiliation with the case. Like we have called some sketchy people, but that's besides the point. I think for us it's just been an accessibility thing. We're in Pennsylvania, so it's not far to go visit, but to hear him nearly every single day and to hear from him and how he's doing has been super beneficial and a great way to communicate about his case.
Other questions? Yes, Professor Vreeland.
Hello, hello. Is this on? Yeah. So obviously when you walked into the MAE classroom, you knew it was going to be unlike anything at any other university except Georgetown. But I'm curious what surprised you most in this innovative kind of learning environment. Obviously you learned in ways that you never have before. Maybe you can share some of your experiences that surprised you the most or were most different from the traditional form of learning.
That's an amazing question. I think what was most surprising to me was just how close we got with Damien and Damien's family, and how this is so unlike another course at Princeton where you're trying to meet certain grade boundaries, you're trying to get a certain score on a test. There was none of that in this class. Instead, we chose to speak with Damien every day. We chose to speak with his family and his friends like on numerous occasions. And all of that was because we formed this incredible connection with him that we know is going to last so far after this course ends. And we continue to plan to speak with him every day, to work with him and advocate for his case, and we hope all of you will too. But I think that's been something that's been really different for me. It's just, this isn't going to be a class where you take a final exam, forget all the information, and then move on to the next thing. This is something that's going to be a part of all of our lives forever. So.
Hi, there's a lot of familiar faces up there. So you guys did an amazing job. Everyone did an amazing job. I'm so in awe of like your ability to do this without having any experience prior. But my question is like, what do you like do with this information and like being so close to it? I mean, it's like for just people reading the stats or reading the news or watching a documentary, just doing that, it's just like so infuriating. And like being so close to it and talking to the family members and the people who experienced it, I just like am like, what do you do with that? Like how, you know what I mean? It's just so infuriating. Like yeah. And then my second question is, what is something that you learned from this process that like people can't learn from not being in a class like this? Like we all can read the news, we all can watch a documentary, but like what's something that like we cannot get away that you think you have?
To answer the first question, which is like, what do you do with it? It depends. Like the circumstances of our cases are different. Some people are eligible for parole, some people have attorneys, some people don't. In the specific circumstance of our case, our like biggest singular aim is to find representation for Tyrone. And so like that's something that we advocate for by creating something that's easy to publicize, and that's something that you can help us advocate for by publicizing what we do. This will be like incredibly, I'll like email it to you, Abby. Like this will be like incredibly available. And the best thing that you can do in our specific case is to like send it to a lawyer. Like if you, I'm totally dead serious. Like, or if you've got like a friend whose parent is a lawyer, like you can like, it's like very inconspicuous. You're just like, oh, like look at this, like Sam made it so great. And like, you know, eventually somebody sees it and they want to take this up. But of course, completely different circumstance if you've like got a runway to a parole hearing or something like that.
The students are disappearing because the program participants are calling. So that's what's happening. So we're about to hear from Peter Kenny.
Peter, we have about 200 people here who just learned about you and your story.
If you want to say hi, wait, put the speaker there.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for showing up. Hello. Nice crowd. Yeah, I want to say it's a great honor to be a part of this Making An Exoneree program.
Wait, you got to repeat that. They were clapping.
I said I want you guys to know this is a great honor to be a part of this Making An Exoneree program. Me and all of my loved ones, our hearts go out to you guys. I can't thank you enough. God bless. You know, it's hard bringing light to this story, and I'm just honored, truly honored to be a part of this program. Thank you guys. You guys did great. Students were awesome on all cases. All the students did a great job. I got to sit there and watch it all. It's awesome.
So
awesome. My family loved it. You had my whole family was in tears.
I believe that.
Great. Yeah, it was great. Great. Very good job.
Thanks, Peter. We love you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I've been talking to you guys. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been so.
Yeah, we're gonna go out.
There was a second part to your question. Does anybody remember what it was? Can we?
Can I try to address
What was
that?
the second part of the question?
The second was, what is something you took away from this experience that people who were not in the class would not have taken away or learned?
Okay, we're gonna put that on
Also-
pause one more time because we
Sorry.
got Tony Mills on the phone.
As a preface, Tony's 65th birthday is in 2 days, so can we sing happy birthday to him? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Tony. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday!
So much. Just because I'm in prison, don't think I can't get emotional on you. But I want to thank everybody, and I would just like to thank Princeton University for hosting this event, and thank the Georgetown University Making an Exoneree Program and Justice Initiative administration team and attorneys, Ms. Joy Evans, Mr. Mark M. Howard, and Georgetown law student Miranda Karp-Lepke for taking on my case. And thank you, Princeton University college students, Ala, Millie, and JJ for organizing and developing the documentary for me. Thank you as well to each one of you all who showed up. And thank you for your time and coming out to watch the documentary and hear my story.
So while we wait for Team Phillips to come back in, I'll just answer the first part of your question, which is one thing you can do with all this information is become a professor at Princeton and teach other people about it.
Here you are, you're on.
Oh, more. How's everybody? Oh, wow. Yeah, my name is Damian Phillips, and I want to thank everybody in the Making An Exoneree program who made this possible. Like, especially Maya, Daya, Genevieve, Megan, Ellie Sims. I thank all y'all. Y'all guys are special. Like, y'all really touched my life. You know, this, there's a lot said about criminal justice reform, mass incarceration, and police brutality, but I've always felt that what's missing from that conversation is falsifying evidence, falsifying confessions, and sending innocent people away to prison for life. Like, that's never talked about. But, rightfully so, all those other, topics are important, but that's always left out. But you guys are out there screaming it, and I thank y'all for it. I know in Philadelphia, they up to 44 exonerations, and that's just in a few years, and that's due in large part to the kind of work that you guys is doing. So I thank everybody and everybody in that audience who's a part of that fight.
Thank you, Damien. You're the best. We're going to bring you outside.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Just to wrap up on Abby's question, she asked sort of, what do you learn that you wouldn't have been able to learn without doing this work? And I think that one thing I've really been reflecting on recently is just all of the various hurdles there are to achieving justice, the scope of what it takes to try and get someone who is wrongfully convicted exonerated. Like, you don't realize that you learn about it and you can read about it, but all the different ways in which the system tries to stop you and tries to halt you, from the difficulties of setting up a legal call to just, having to sit in a Philadelphia county office and scan thousands of pages of documents, all these different challenges that are set up just so that it makes it one step harder to try and achieve justice. It feels like something you can comprehend until you sit down and you do it. And I think that's something that really is going to stick with me for the rest of my life.
Maya. Can I just the first part of the question?
Yeah.
So I just want to clarify something for everybody, which is that the cases that we take, and you saw 4 of them here, we had 5 of them this year at Georgetown, and we've had many, probably over 40 now over the history of this program. We take the hardest cases. We don't take the cases where there's just some DNA and you run it over to the lab and that can hopefully get somebody exonerated. We take cases of people who have written for years, decades, to every organization and usually haven't even gotten a response. And we take cases where we have to search for the truth, where we have to dig, where you have to investigate. We have to create a version of the truth that we can present that is much more compelling than the lies and the misconduct that went into their conviction. So that's a starting point. And of the cases that we've looked at, you know now that there are 7 who are now free. There are likely 2 more who will be this year. That's 9. But there are also 9 others who now have legal representation who didn't before, where pro bono law firms are representing them along with regional innocence projects. There are close to 10 that have gotten major media attention that they didn't have before, including coverage on major networks, in some cases multi-episode documentary series, including one on Hulu last year. And in all of the cases, we breathe new life into cases that had basically no hope. So we're talking about people who are sitting in cages for something they had nothing to do with no hope, no one responding. And then we, through these undergraduate students, are able to breathe life into them, in many cases get attention, get legal representation, and get them out of prison. And so that's what we're trying to do with this program. All of those steps are important. Ultimately, freedom is what it's all about.
Okay, Muti wants everyone to know that someone left their ring in the bathroom. So if that's you, please let me know. Neptagonal champions. Okay. I want us to take one more minute and give it up for the students behind me. Thank you all so much for coming in person, online. Thank you again to Michael, our beautiful, wonderful tech assist. Thank you, Michael. And we'll see you here next year, same time, same place.